Hello, what's up guys? This is Jouni Juurela from Florbal Made Simple, and in this new video we are going to present how to coach small kids. To be more precisely, how to coach kids from 5 to 7 year olds, but we will give examples and instructions on how to coach even little older juniors than that. But the key point of this video is to give recommendations on what kind of exercises and drills you can use with them and what to take into account when using those drills. And I give and share a few of my experiences from my 16-year coaching career, what I have been dealing with and what kind of situations have come in front of me during my coaching career. So let's dive in directly to the subject. So, what to expect the game to look like in this age group? You will not see very complex or fine-looking, versatile passing play, because juniors from 5 to 6 year olds, they are just not able to do that, and they are not even supposed to be able to do that. The game looks like more that there is three times of 1v1 situations going, which means that each player has a 1 versus 1 situation where he or she has to defend and attack, and it is all about teaching on how to cope and solve those 1v1 situations. So we need to be able to expand the tool bank that they have on how to play one-on-one situations. After one player goes past his or her marker, which we call the first defender or first pressing player, then the situation turns into a momentary 3 versus 2 or a 2 versus 1 situation. So the player needs to go past the marker, and then it's an overload situation. So the focus is more on how do I use space as an individual in the field when I'm carrying the ball, and how do I go past the player marking me. And we need to be able to load up the tool bank on how the player can exceed the marker by using two-handed forehand grip of the stick, or two-handed backhand, or one-handed forehand grip of the stick, or one-handed forehand grip. Did I say backhand and forehand? That was what I was meaning to say. Yeah, so both sides of the blade, you need to be able to utilize both using one or two hands, and the ability to switch between those different types of ball carrying ways and grips between 2 and 1 hand from both sides, to switch those up in motion is. Then some very basic information on how to hold successful and well-oiled training sessions. Of course, we each have a different size of a field that we're using, but you can pack up as much as over 20 kids into 1/3 of the field if you are using the full court. So, which means that you are able to train over 60 kids very successfully if you have enough coaches and the full field. So, how is that possible? You need to be able to exploit all the corners, all the areas by your drills and exercise that you're doing. So that means that you need to be able to hold many action points where the action is happening, rather than just 1 or 2 action point where there are miles long lines where the kids are waiting. So every kid should be holding the ball and being active with the ball as much as possible. So prefer the kind of exercises where the kids can spend almost all the time on the ball. And you are not going to see in these age groups those exercise sessions where everything looks like it's a well-oiled machine. It looks moreover like a controlled chaos. It is totally fine. If the exercises are good and there is a bunch of action that is keeping the kids busy, if everybody has something to do, controlled chaos is just fine. Few words about the training organization method. This means that you can arrange the exercises in roughly put in 2 ways. You organize plenty of small action points where the kids are all participating and involved, and most of them are spending time with the ball. So you need to organize them if you have 20 kids, like minimum of 6 action points, where everybody is doing something, learning the skills. That's the first way to do it. The second way to do it is to organize few bigger action points where still everybody is doing something with the ball. So you can either have dozens of small action points where different things are happening, or you can have few bigger ones if most of the kids, actually all the kids should be, but at least most of the kids are spending time with the ball. And if you're using this action point model, or the first one, where you have multiple action points, there cannot be lines where kids are waiting and standing still, because when you're coaching kids under 10-year-olds, it is a total failure. If the kids need to be standing on lines and waiting for their turns, they do not have the concentration. They just don't stay in the lines. So avoid those drills where people are standing in the lines, and lots of action. So here we have this word example training session structure. This means that every single session, even though they are this young, needs to be structured. So there are few parts and few elements that we need to cover every time. And in this way that I present in this video, it comes down to 3 parts. The first one is plays and games. The second one is the skills part, and the third one is the free-flowing games. And they each have this predetermined time slot of action, how long will the exercise last, and that includes the times of shifting between one another, and those little breaks that we need to have. And I'm assuming that the training session lasts for 60 minutes in this example. But the first part, the plays and games, this is the way to get most of the steam out of the young players, that they will have more concentration and focus abilities later on, when the most of the steam is gotten out from the body. And plays and games, those usually include some tag games, skill space sort of games, and anything that you can imagine that is a play or a game that really you can include that into the key learning points that we have today for our session. Then the second part is the skills part, which is really important. So the bread and butter here is to use a bunch of different variations of small-sided games. You can also use these skills course or skills routes, where kids need to go over and dangle over those practice cones. But I have some tips for you in those as well. And the free-flowing games are the ones that kids are waiting for. Take into account, the younger the players are, the more time it takes to get things going. And I use the organizational method where you have few large action points, and then there are all the kids are active and on the ball within those. Here you see some basic instructions from me on how to hold successful training sessions for juniors as young as this. It all starts with a mutual starting point for the session, where we welcome the kids to the practice session, and we tell one bigger chunk of learning goals and these aims that we need to aim today. Even though they would be 5, 6, 7-year-olds, there needs to be a one big goal that glues all our actions together. After opening the session, we will explain what we train at the first part, which was the plays and games, and we will tell to everybody a mutual description of what we're aiming for, how the drill is going, what they need to do, and we need to get the kids focused on the right areas right from the get-go. Then we give constant individual feedback to the kids, because at this age group the best coaches are those ones that go bravely towards the kids, and if they see them doing some wrongful actions, wrong techniques, or using wrong methods that we're not looking for, they go and demonstrate how to do that thing better. And then they give this corrective instruction to the kid, and then he or she knows how to do it well. After that, we go to improve the quality on that training part. So we stop the action for a minute, well, not certainly for a minute, but a moment, and then we tell them what should all the players be focusing on. We demonstrate, we highlight the actual successful moves that we need to do, and then just hit it off again. Then we drink some water at the part 5, and we regroup for the second part. And we repeat all of those parts from the part 2 explanations, part 3 individual feedback, part 4 improving the quality. We repeat each of those for all parts of our training. And when the training session ends, we give a mutual conclusion to the session. How did it all go? Get the kids even more amped up after a training session, and give positive feedback on the effort and what was in high quality during that session. Somebody might be thinking right over there that instructions to 5 or 6 year olds, coach, what are you, nuts? No, I'm not. You actually need to start to emphasize the quality and the small pieces of information that make quality. How is that movement done well, and light the kids up. You need to tell them what they are doing in an excellent way and why that thing that they're doing is as excellent as it is. And if you start to tell these small chunks of information on quality right from the get-go, when they are 5, 6, 7 year olds, they get accustomed to it. When they come to these highly competitive teams as teenagers, they are used to excellence. You know that they're not only coming there running around and having that as a hobby, but they are accustomed to and raised for excellence. So that creates long-term success. If you see the kids doing something in a wrong technique, go ahead, be brave, and demonstrate how that should be done correctly and correct those technical things. The kids, they will not break. They will not be any scared if you go to correct their technique if it comes with a positive note. So end always your instruction or demonstration with a positive note, and when he or she gets the technique right, absolutely light the kid up. Raise the enthusiasm, enforce the feeling of capability for the kid, and he or she will most definitely continue on Florbal. And the last part, try to raise the connection to the Florbal with the kids. The feelings that you should be making the kids feel during each session, even though that you require quality and demonstrate and correct their technique, you need to be able to make them feel engaged, thrilled, joyful, enthusiastic, and feeling competent. If they learn a skill, compliment the kid, raise the motivation up, and he or she will feel competent on that skill. Okay, now we have been going through the things to do. Now we go over the things that you should not do with small juniors, no matter how small they are. A bunch of closed drills where every single direction is predetermined. So the kid cannot decide, do I go to right direction or whether do I go to the left direction, where do I carry, do I shoot, do I pass. These will not fit to this age group because they are so impatient. They will not handle those instructions and they will not be satisfied with their hobby if you use closed drills. So try to avoid those drills where their actions are predetermined and they cannot do any decisions or absorb the game or scan the game. Know those. Throw those out of the window. Also, those drills, as I mentioned earlier, where they need to stand in lines, they are too impatient in that as well. Include the kids to have the ball almost all the time and you will have no trouble. You need to be consistent also on the learning points. So even though you might have a really cool play or tag or really cool some skill drill, if that does not be in connection to the one key learning point we need to learn today, that is not as effective as possible. So try to glue every single part of those plays, skills, and the free-flowing games to the connection of the learning points. By that, you are consistent and create success. And then try to keep the training points in the same direction for multiple weeks in each of those training sessions. Don't just jump from one thing into another between each exercise. So now we get to the good stuff. So we are heading now into the example practices for each of those parts 1, 2, and 3. And we start by the 1, play and games, which is the warm-up phase in the training. Use lots of practices and drills where the kids can roam freely with the ball around, because if their directions where they're going are not predetermined, but they can make their own decisions, they are able to scan the field, scan the spaces, scan where the opponents, my own players are, so they do scan where the space is and where do I need to move. Use as small spaces as you can, because if the space is small, they need to be handling the ball in a smaller space. They have less space and time around them, and they will get accustomed to that environment where there is not much space and time, which will also be very important for the future as an adult or in any other competitive level. Also, if the skills are not able to do those things in that small space, then increase the space a little bit, but not by much. It needs to be as small that they are a little out of their comfort zone, because if they train in really wide spaces, that does not connect to the actual game of floorball, because there is small space. Try to hide your goals of the training session, the ball carrying skills, covering the ball abilities, and playing on one-on-one situations inside those tags and games and plays. And also the tags and other stuff, they need to be in connection to the key learning points of the whole session. Okay, now we're talking. This is one of my favorite exercises for kids, and this is really simple. You have divided, if you have 20 kids, you have divided them into 2 very small areas, and there are 10 kids in each box. Every kid has a ball, and the area is lined with 4 practice cones which make a square or any kind of formation there. And they start to use some sort of ball carrying ability in that, which I determine for them. They can, example, carry the ball with one-handed backhand, one-handed forehand, two-handed grips anyway. They need to spin with the ball, throw the ball in the air, anything. And there are 3 roughly put ways that you can do this. The first way is by giving them a minute of time to carry the ball, and they try to do it in any pace they like. So a minute at a time. The second way is by having timelines on that. So you can have like 3 whistles, and at the first whistle they start to go with the ball with a jogging pace. At the second whistle they start to go with a sprinting pace, and at the third whistle they go full speed. And then at the fourth whistle, little break, and things carry on. And the third phase, that is actually my favorite, and the kids love it as well. Kids need to do, for example, I tell them that they have to carry the ball with two-handed backhand, right? And then I tell them that every time that the coach raises his hand up in the air, they need to be constantly scanning, and when they see my hand in the air, they need to spin with the ball or throw the ball in the air. That comes down to the observation and scanning skills. You can totally teach these for even kids as young as 5-year-olds. Here's another version of that same exercise, which is called a chaser tag. So it's basically the same, actually the same drill as the last one, but you have few chasers without the ball within the area. So everybody else of the kids has a ball, but there are like 3, 4, 5, 6 tags that they have in there, and a tag is trying to chase the ball carrier, get the ball away from him or her, and if they get the ball, they become the player that's trying to, avoid of losing it. So they sprint away from the tags, and tags are attempting to take the ball. This is an awesome exercise and really simple. And this one is my personal favorite, probably the best one that you can use for kids as a starting warm-up game. So it's basically the same. You have 4 cones in the outer flanks of the field, which create line, which is the sidelines. And each kid that starts with the ball goes to stand in the sideline. You have a couple of cones in the middle, and you have a few of those tags or chasers or ball robbers in the middle when the game is starting, and then I whistle to the blow. And sorry, I blow the whistle. That I meant. And then the kids will start to sprint towards the center, and once a kid is able to sprint to the center without losing the ball and go around one of those cones, he or she gets 1 point. In order to go seek for a next point, you will have to run with the ball to the outer side or the sideline and return back to the center. If one loses a ball, the one that intercepted and got the ball to him or her, they will continue as a player with the ball. And this is a competition, for example, to 20 points. Who gets 20 points first, and then let's celebrate the winner. And now we get to the bread and butter part. These are, in my opinion, the most important things that small kids under 10 years old should use and be able to master. Once you are like 10 or 11 years old, you should be already quite good at this. To solving 1-versus-1 situation in the field and being able to go past your player from 1v1 to create that momentary power play situation or overload situation. The main focus shifts into the game-like situations where you need to utilize the space and solve 1-versus-1 struggling situations. You can also use traditional skill courts or routes where kids go past the practice cones, but I like to do them a little differently. It is for the better if the kids do not go moving just forward in a vertical plane, in a vertical direction. If they do move only on the vertical direction, and especially in the sideboards, what that is telling them, that then it tells them that it is a good choice to move towards the outer flanks, towards the corner of the field. No. We don't want that. If you're using those drills where they are carrying the ball and there is a predetermined way, at least the way should be in a diagonal plane, in a diagonal direction and going from the sideboard towards the goal. If you're using those where the direction is fixed, choose the diagonal direction so they learn to go towards the goal. But even better is if there are some skill practices where the kids can determine by themselves the direction they are going. If they can decide the direction, they need to be able to lift their head up and observe the game, scan the game a little more better. And to the small-sided games part, rather than having only one small-sided game for kids this age group, organize like at least two of those small-sided games per half court, even up to 4 or 5 games. The more the kids have the ability to carry the ball and challenge themselves in the 1v1 situation, the better they will become. So here's an example of this traditional skills drill but made better. Which makes it better is that there are two of these traditional skill drills going on in each side of a half court, so you can have 4 of these going on in a half court. So you will have a bunch of kids active at the same time. There are from 5 to 6 practice cones in front of them, but unlike in the traditional version, the kids do not have to carry the ball in a predetermined manner. They need to choose 3 of those practice cones that to go to and do some sort of skill move in the cone, like spinning around the cone or doing a floor zero, lifting the ball up, or one-handed backhand side spin or something. And right after they have made the 3 spins in whichever direction and around whatever of those 3 cones, then they can shoot. So by allowing them to choose the direction, they have to lift their head up and scan the field better. Here you can see a one version of how to organize 1v1 games. There are 4 of those going on in a half court. If you have plenty of kids in the training, that might not be an optimal way. You might have to arrange a 5th one or even a 6th one into the middle. But still, you have 2 kids in the 1v1 situation, and either the goalie or the coach throws a ball in there. In order to get the permission to attack, the player that gets the ball needs to do something to get the attacking permission. For example, pass the ball from the sideboard back to him or herself, or flip the ball in the air, do a floor zero, turn eyes towards the goal or something. And both of the kids are 20 seconds in the game, and then as coach blows the whistle, you will change players in the game. And if the ball goes off the court or any of those goals, goalie or coach throws a new ball and 20-second shifts are played. And this one is even better than those 1 versus 1 situations. This is a 1 versus 1 versus 1, or so-called a triple threat. You can do 4 of these in this way in a half court, so you will have plenty of kids active at the same time and struggling for the ball. Coach throws the ball into the play and 3 players sprint towards the ball. The one that wins the ball attempts to go towards the goal, as the 2 remaining who didn't get the ball are trying to press the ball and get the ball back to themselves. Once the player recovers the ball from somebody, he or she becomes attacking player. Always when the player gets the ball away from somebody else, he or she becomes attacking player. And again, if the goal goes to the goal, or ball goes to the goal, or ends up out of the playing court, new ball is thrown to the game and 20 to 30 second shifts. A very, very good exercise that will force the player on the ball to lift the head up, observe the right spaces, and as there is 2 pressing players to the ball, there is less space, so the decision on which way you are going to go needs to be better than in the 1v1. And this one I will describe in a short manner, because this is exactly the same 1 versus 1 situation, but the goal is positioned in the mid-court. What's different in this is that in previous version they had more open field that they were playing in, but now most of the struggling will happen near the sideboards and the corner, so demand for time and space is a little different. And then we get to the best part. All the juniors are waiting for these ending moments in the practices, so you should have as much as these open, naturally flowing games as possible. But I need to more stress out that this version of 2 versus 2 is even better and more efficient way to improve your players than the 3 versus 3 format. Even though your team is playing or might be playing on the 3 versus 3 format, you should emphasize 2 versus 2. What are the main reasons for it? That creates more pressured moments for the players, as the space is a little smaller, so they will have to do decisions faster. they will have more time on the ball and more chances to attempt to attack. So because the space is smaller, they will get the ball back in a faster way and they will have another attempt to score. And as the space is narrowed, the players that are trying to pressure you are of course already more nearby you, so you will have to constantly position yourself in a harder 1-versus-1 situation. So use lots of 2-versus-2 games and then also 3-versus-3 games, but emphasize the 2-versus-2. And from time to time, use more players in the field to keep the kids happy. And here you can see one way to organize that. In the upper section of the picture you can see 2-versus-2 open flowing game, and then you can see 3-versus-3 in the lower part of the picture. The change benches or shift places are in the middle, where you can see the coaches with their caps on right over there. And this is a small tip on coaching these small juniors. It is even more efficient if you don't start with any middle starting point or any free hit or something like that. You just let them play for 20 to 30 seconds. Then you blow to the whistle and the ball stays in the same place that it was left in the game. The person that are on the field sprint towards the shift bench and new players just sprint towards the ball. What this will create, the new part of the game will start faster, so there is no delays and each player yet again gets more touches to the ball. Another tip to you guys is that if the goal is scored or the ball ends up off the field, it may be beneficial sometimes for the coach just to jam the ball somewhere to the field, so players need to sprint to that direction and get the ball from there. What this will create more of those situations where players sprint towards the ball and have to struggle for it. So if you want to emphasize and optimize the amount of struggling 1-versus-1 situations, you can throw the ball into the game always when it ends up off the field. And hey, that's it for today. Thank you for watching the video, and if you are still there and were able to watch this by one sit, kudos to you. Marvelous performance. I just want to point out that even though I stumbled up on a few words, please forgive me, I'm not an English teacher, I'm just a floorball dude from Finland. But if you have any further questions or you want to point out something to me, feel free to comment to this video in the comment section right below, or reach out to me. You can see my social media accounts listed there down below. I'm on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, so send me a message through any of those platforms. If you have anything to ask, don't hesitate to do so. Please subscribe to this channel and share this video as wide as you can if you felt that this was good watching. And hey, you can use this material whatever way you like. Take screenshots, share the link, take notes of this, whatever. If this was helpful, use this. Okay, get out of here. Bye.